Hey guys, welcome back. So BlizzCon has finished now. We've got over 30 cards to look at today, so I'll get straight into it. I'll try and get through them quickly. There's quite a lot of cards. And we're going to start with Galakrond for Priest. 7 mana, just like all the Galakronds, 5 armor, Battlecry, destroy one random enemy minion, Invoke twice to upgrade. If you don't know what Invoke is, that basically is an effect, a new keyword on certain minions. And when you play that keyword, it will invoke, it will upgrade Galakrond, and it will play as hero power. In the case of Priest, it's a 2 mana hero power, add a random Priest minion to your hand. I think this is the weakest Galakrond, to be honest. With the Battlecry of destroy one random enemy minion, you would never play it. Play 2 Invoke cards, it then destroys 2 random enemy minions. If you play 4 Invoke cards, you get the final form, which is destroy 4 random enemy minions and equip the 5/2 weapon, just like the other Galakronds. So that is a really powerful play. I just don't see Priest really needing that so much. They have plenty of removal at the moment. There's lots of different ways for them to get rid of minions on the board. But Galakrond, let's be honest, if you can pay for 7 mana, destroy 4 minions and equip a weapon, is very strong. The question's going to be whether you want to play the other Invoke cards. And I'm not so sure, because the hero power doesn't seem that good to me. Add a random Priest minion to your hand. They're all from the same class, and they're all from your class. So that is good, because they're most likely synergized with what you're trying to do. But there's a lot of low-cost Priest cards. There's some cards which, like Death Rattle synergies, which you wouldn't necessarily want to use. So the only reason you would want a hero power like that is if you're going late game. So it's a really nice late game to press 2 mana or get it free off of your Invoke cards to have a random minion, because it gives you more fuel. So it would go into a control Priest type deck. But it's not as good as what Dr. Boom's hero power is. Even though you could do this one every turn, Dr. Boom's hero power was discover a minion, and those minions were always mechs, which synergized exactly with what that deck was trying to do, and they had rush because you just played Dr. Boom. So that's why that was so powerful. And it's not like Rexar's hero power, where you're building a beast. It's just 2 mana, a random Priest minion, which may or may not do very much for you. So I don't really like it. I don't really see what you're trying to do. But if there is a good dragon deck you can build around this, then it allows you to leave out some other AoE, because you know you've got Galakrond, which can just destroy a big board on your opponent's side. So it's got potential. I just think it's the weakest Galakrond we've seen so far, but very difficult to say until we've seen more cards. So let's look at the only Invoke card we've seen, or the only actual card that triggers Galakrond, is Time Rip. And again, I'm a bit underwhelmed by this. It's 5 mana, destroy a minion, invoke Galakrond. So it's an Assassinate from Rogue, 5 mana, but you also get a random Priest minion to your hand. So the stat value isn't terrible, but I just don't think it's good enough. Because the random Priest minion, it could be useless, or it could be okay. And does Priest really need to pay 5 mana to destroy a minion? They've got lots of other good options. You can use all of their removal tools. So I don't really like it. And I should say as well that this Galakrond deck, it won't synergize with the Priest quest, because you'll lose the hero power when you play it. So it's not going to go into a Priest control deck. A quest control deck. So what is this deck going to look like? And I don't really see Time Rip helping it. It feels like they're trying to build a deck which just sits back, removes all your opponent's minions, and has enough fuel by generating random cards in their hand. Maybe it'll be good, and I'll be wrong. Probably would have to see more dragons, to be honest. Next, we've got Fate Weaver, and now this is a good card, I'd say. It's a 4 mana 3/6 dragon, so the stats are nice. Battlecry, if you've invoked twice, reduce the cost of cards in your hand by 1. So this has got potential to be incredible, because it's an epic card. You can play 2 of these in the same turn. So you can pay 8 mana to reduce your whole hand by 2, and that unlocks huge potential for combo decks. And again, probably why Mind Blast has been removed from the game. But if you've invoked twice, reduce the cost of your cards in your hand by 1, it's like Emperor Thaurissan will be gone by the time this comes in. So that's interesting to note. But it can transform games, because it just allows lots of possibilities. If you've invoked twice and you can play this on turn 4, it's also quite a nice tempo play, because it allows you to play discounted minions in the future. So I like it. I think it's a very good card. It just really depends on how easy it will be to invoke in Priest, because if you're playing cards like Time Rip, you're not going to be able to play Fate Weaver on 4. It's going to be later on, and maybe you want to hold it later on because you've got the right hand then that you want to discount. But yeah, this is a very strong epic card, and you know, I'm glad it's just in Priest. If this was neutral, you'd see it all over the place. Moving on to Druid, I did show this one in my last video, Ysera the Unleashed. My opinion hasn't really changed on it too much. It's a 9 mana 4/12 dragon. Battlecry shuffles 7 Dream Portals into your deck. When drawn, summon a random dragon. So this has potential to be awesome in like control decks. Basically, it all depends though on what the pool of dragons is like, because you're going to be at 7 dragons. On your turn, you're going to be drawing them. I don't think there's going to be any rush dragons. I haven't seen a rush dragon before, I don't think. So they just sit there until the next turn, and that's going to be the issue. Playing on turn 9, just playing a 9 mana 4/12 is very, very slow. Druid has very good draw cards, but they wouldn't be able to play them to the next turn unless you've discounted this. There are lots of kind of cool synergies though. You could play this with Floop, so you play this on one turn, the next turn you can Floop it cheaply and then play your draws. So you've got 14 dragons in. So you'll likely get a big board of dragons that way. But I think what I'm concerned about a little bit is if we get lots of taunt dragons, and there are a few coming up, I'll show you, then maybe it's better. And if we get some rush dragons too. But I think Druid could make it work because they can draw their deck quickly, have an empty deck. Elise can duplicate this, Floop can duplicate this, and then you're getting these big boards. But we'll have to see. I think actually a Quest Druid could make use of this, but they already do so many powerful things that they really need to. Next, we've got the Emerald Explorer, 6 mana 4/8 dragon with Taunt, Battlecry, Discover a Dragon. This is a very good card. I mean, the stats are great for a 6 mana Taunt minion, and it's a dragon. And it gives you another dragon in your hand, which is extremely important in dragon decks. And yeah, there isn't really a downside. It's very good to come off of Ysera as well, because it does have Taunt, like I just said. The only thing I can see holding this card back is, do you need to play a dragon deck? So Quest Druid is very good at the moment. It's a very powerful deck. Why would you play a dragon deck? Now, I said you could play Ysera in a Quest deck. You can't play this in a Quest deck. It just doesn't make any sense to do that. So unless we get a good dragon package to surround it, and it becomes as good or better than Quest, there's not going to be much reason to play it. So that's the only concern, but this is a very good dragon for Druid. Breath of Dreams, now this is a reason to play a dragon deck, but also again maybe not strong enough for me. But it's a 2 mana Breath of Dreams. Draw a card. If you're holding a dragon, gain an empty mana crystal. So this is pretty good. It's a Wild Growth basically. Wild Growth had to be Hall of Fame because it was very good, but you do have to be holding a dragon. So that means you're going to have maybe between 7 and 10 dragons in your deck. Maybe less you could get away with. Because this is a card you want to play on turn 2. You also get to draw a card as well, but it's the empty mana crystal that you're going to be wanting to use. So it's just the same issue if dragons are going to be strong enough. This helps Ysera because I said it was a very slow turn 9 play. If you can play it earlier than turn 9, then that's brilliant because your opponent has less potential to catch up. So Breath of Dreams, a really strong card, but only playable if dragons are worth it. Are you going to play a Quest Druid deck that has a few dragons in it, like a dragon package? I just don't think so. I don't think it would be worth it. Let's see. I'm excited to try it anyway. Next, we have got our first side quest. So side quest, this is Hunter. Toxic Reinforcements. 1 mana cards are very cheap. It's a side quest that can be played alongside actual quests that we've seen before. Use your hero power 3 times and reward summon 3 1/1 leper gnomes. So this is a really strong package of in the card. You get 3 1/1 minions, and each of them have Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero, which is all very good for Hunter. That's what they want to be doing. They want to be doing face damage. So for 1 mana, that's really good. Problem is you have to use your hero power 3 times. Hunter does love to use their hero power, but they don't like to use it in the early game so much because you need to be putting minions on the board. If you played this on turn 3 with Toxic Reinforcements and a hero power, you're not you're going to be losing the board pretty quickly as a hunter. There are more cards coming which synergize with this hero power mechanic, but ultimately I don't see it being that great right now. But this is a very good card on its own. Just the deck really, I don't see you wanting to do 3 hero powers before much later in the game. Speaking of the hero powers, we've got Dragonbane. This is a legendary 4 mana 3/5 mech. After you use your hero power, deal 5 damage to a random enemy. A really powerful effect. It's turn 6, put a 4 mana 3/5 and a mech, which I also think is quite important because Mech Hunter is pretty good. Deal 5 damage to a random enemy. That could be really good. 6 mana, clear your opponent's 5-drop and have a 3/5, or 6 mana, play a 3/5 onto an empty board, deal 5 damage to your enemy hero. It's good, and it can stack as well over turns. But it just depends on whether you can get discounted hero powers or you can play a hero power more than one turn. At the moment, I don't really see that being very good, but it's a powerful effect on a decently statted card. So if a hero power deck works, then this will be part of it. And next we have the Dwarven Sharpshooter. This is a 1 mana 1/3. So this one now has hero power can target minions. So a 1 mana 1/3 is always going to be a good card. However, I think this would be much better if it was a beast. If it was a beast, you'd see this in every single hunter deck. But as it is now, the effect of targeting minions with your hero power is good. That's what Zul'jin does. But you don't want to be doing this on turn 1. Like, you don't want to play this on turn 1 and then hero power turn 2. Because you're just protecting your 1/3. You're not adding more minions to the board. Is this going to be better than playing a mid-range hunter? I don't think so. And it's not a permanent effect. It just only happens while this 1/3 is on the board, which is difficult to remove early game, but late game it's very easy for your opponent to remove. And like, why do you want to be playing a 1/3 and then using your hero power just to control the board? It just doesn't seem like something Hunter would do, but I could be wrong. We'll have to see more cards. Next, let's take a look at Phase Stalker. Now, this looks like a dragon to me, but it is in fact a beast. It's a 2 mana 2/3 beast, so the stats are nice on it. After you use a hero power, cast a secret from your deck. So this has a powerful effect, and I think this one has the most potential to be good. Because whenever you can pull a secret out of your deck and put it into play, that is very strong. Because it just means you won't draw it. Now, I would say Hunter's got better ways to do that, though. With Subject 9, it doesn't play the secret, but it draws them. So I don't know whether this one will necessarily see play, but I think it is a strong enough effect that sometime in the future it probably will find its way into a deck. I just don't think that Hunter wants to... Like, you can get good value. Turn 4, you play this, cast a secret. Next turn, you play a 3-drop. And your hero power, cast a secret. You can get some good value from it, but it just doesn't seem what Hunter wants to do. I don't really see how this whole hero power thing is fitting in right now, anyway. Corrosive Breath. So this is now we're moving on to the dragon side of Hunter. 2 mana, deal 3 damage. That is very good. Penance in Priest is a good card. So this is very similar to that, except instead of healing you, it does 3 damage to the enemy hero, but you do have to have a dragon in your hand. So that is what Hunters want to do. They want to remove minions on your board, protect your minions on their side of the board so that they've got plenty of board presence and they can hit your face quickly. This does all of that packaged into one card. It's a nice card, but will we want to make a Dragon Hunter? So Emrys doesn't fit. Like, Emrys is the dragon that's in Hunter right now. That's more of a late game deck. You're not really concerned with 3 face damage in a deck like that. It's more of a tempo hunter, though, I would say. And is a tempo dragon hunter going to be better than just normal mid-range hunter? We'll have to wait and see. But this is a strong card. It's another one of those ones which, really strong card, but you can't decide whether it will be played or not until you've seen all of the cards and how they combine together. Primordial Explorer, this is a little bit underwhelming. It's a very important card for a dragon deck. It is a dragon itself, 3 mana 2/3, so weak stats. Poisonous, which is I don't know. I mean, it's very useful poisonous at certain points, but it's not very aggressive. But the Battlecry Discover a Dragon is very important for dragon decks. They need to have dragons in their hand. They need to have dragons on the board. That is an important part of a dragon deck. But the fact that it's a 3 mana 2/3 poisonous is a little bit underwhelming. Your opponent will probably be able to trade with it once to kill it. It dies to a lot of AoE. Yeah. I mean, I would rather play the old 3 mana 1/1 poisonous with Divine Shield than play a 3 mana 2/3. But it just depends, again, if the battle cry is important enough for a Dragon Hunter deck. So we'll see. But this one's a little bit underwhelming for me. Moving on to Mage. Okay, so, right, this one's really exciting. Malygos, Aspect of Magic. It's a 5 mana 2/8 dragon. So the stats are a little bit strange because you pay it for 5 mana and it just sticks around, but with only 2 attack. But if you're holding a dragon, discover an upgraded Mage spell. This is really cool. So basically, there are going to be 9 different spells that you can discover. And each of them is based on actual spells that Mage already has. So you get to choose from 3. But this is a very good card, which I think has similarities with Zephyrus. I would not say that this card is better than Zephyrus. Zephyrus is one of the best cards ever, to be honest. But I think it has the potential to do a similar thing, and I'll explain. So let me just go through the spells quickly. There's a 2 mana Malygos Explosion. This is deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. There's a 4 mana Malygos Fireball, which does 8 damage rather than 6. There's a 7 mana Malygos Flame Strike, which does 8 damage to all enemy minions. That's pretty good. Malygos' Frostbolt, 0 mana, deal 3 damage to a character and freeze it. Malygos Intellect, 3 mana, draw 4 cards, very good. Malygos Missiles, 1 mana, deal 6 damage, randomly split among all enemies. Malygos Nova, freeze all enemy minions for 1 mana. Malygos' Polymorph, 1 mana Polymorph, transform a minion into a 1/1 sheep. And Malygos' Tomb, add 3 random mage spells to your hand for 1 mana. So ultimately, I see this card as being a similar card to Zephyrus. So if you're in a tight spot, although you're not going to get as good choices, discovering a Frost Nova can save you in a lot of situations. Discovering a Polymorph for 1 mana can save you against those huge mechs or huge death rattle minions. Card draws always effective. Malygos' Missiles, Malygos' Frostbolt, all these sort of things can help you to get into a good spot in the game. Now, he does cost 5 mana to play him, so if you pick up something like Flame Strike, you'll have to wait till the next turn to play it, but still, it's going to give you a good option. Malygos' Fireball is one that you could potentially play to finish the game, because it only costs 4 mana and you get to do 8 damage. So lots of possibilities here. And you can actually combine this card with the original Malygos, because Malygos' Missiles does 6 damage, and if you've got original Malygos on the board as well for 9 mana, you get spell damage plus 5, and that's 11 damage you can get from the missiles. And Frostbolt, for example, 0 mana, you could use that one as well. So I don't think it would work very well in like a Malygos OTK type deck, but it has the potential for those sort of combos. The only issue with it is that you do have to be holding another dragon to get the battle cry. So is Dragon Mage going to be good enough? And if you need to be holding another dragon, you're going to need to play probably at least 5 other dragons in a deck like this, because you just can't play it as a 5 mana 2/8 without the battle cry. So that's going to be the downside, but ultimately I think it's a really cool card. So let's have a look at the dragon, the Azure Explorer. He's a 4 mana 2/3 dragon, spell damage plus 2, battle cry, discover a dragon. So this is only 4 mana, so you can play it on the same turn as Malygos himself, or Malygos Aspect of Magic. And then you can still have 1 mana left over to potentially use the Arcane Missiles, and this has spell damage plus 2, so that's another 2 missiles. And you get to discover a dragon too. Anything that has discover a dragon I think is going to be important, so that is very good. The stats are bad on it. The fact that it's a dragon's good. And the spell damage plus 2, I'm a little bit unsure on spell damage, because we saw a lot of spell damage come in previous expansions and didn't really impact the game. We've got the Elemental that has spell damage plus 3. That did kind of, or spell damage plus 2 I should say, and that did kind of get into aggressive decks. But spell damage plus 2, unexpected results and things work with it, but that never really took off. So spell damage cards don't make it into the game very often. Blood Mage Thalnos gets a lot of play, but that's often because of his card draw as well, and the fact that it's so cheap. This being at 4 mana, unless you combined it with your upgraded spell, maybe might not be good enough. Then we've got a side quest for Mage, 1 mana Learn Draconic. This one is nice. Side quest: spend 8 mana on spells, which is very easy in Mage. Reward: summon a 6/6 dragon. So I'd see this going in a tempo Mage deck. Do you really want to play it though, or do you want to discover it? Because it comes out of Magic Trick. It gets discounted by Sorcerer's Apprentice to 0. It synergizes very well with Mana Cyclone. Unfortunately, they won't have Flame Waker anymore. That will be going before this comes along. But being able to play a bunch of spells on the board with your Mana Cyclone and an Apprentice, and also getting a 6/6 dragon afterwards, that'll be pretty good. But if you're playing discounted spells at 0 mana, you won't be spending mana on the spells to contribute towards this. So although it's very easy to complete and it's really nice tempo when you get it, it's only 1 mana, it synergizes with loads of other things, I think maybe this will be more of a randomly generated spell. If you're playing something like Highlander Mage, for example, it'd be very easy to spend 8 mana because they play Flame Strike, they play Blizzard, they play Puzzle Box. But you wouldn't want to put this in there. It just takes up a slot. If I'm being honest, I just don't think it'd be worth it in that respect. But one to watch for sure. Mage has a lot of potential with low cost spells. It synergizes with the actual Mage quest, so maybe it'll see some play. But I have a suspicion it'll be more of one that sometimes you pick when you're playing Magic Trick. Moving on to Paladin, and we've got Sand Breath. Give a minion +1/+2. Give it Divine Shield if you're holding a dragon. So this goes into a Dragon Paladin deck, obviously. 1 mana +1/+2 is okay. It's not good enough to see play. But the Divine Shield side of it is very interesting. If you can give a Divine Shield to any minion that doesn't originally have one, it can be very powerful. Helps you to make some really efficient trades. But I think unless we see more Divine Shield synergies, you probably won't see this played. Does it really help with a dragon deck? I don't know. A big Paladin deck might like it because when you've got a huge minion that can trade into another huge minion for free for 1 mana, then I think it's quite useful. So potentially, but it's not going to set the world alight, in my opinion. Speaking of setting the world alight, I don't think this will either. But this is Nozdormu, another version of Nozdormu, the Timeless, a 4 mana 8/8 dragon. Think about that. 4 mana for an 8/8. That's pretty insane. Battlecry: set each player to 10 mana crystals. So the idea of this is it's going to be played in a big Paladin deck. Big Paladin's pretty good with Duel. It's too random to be competitive. There's a lot of good minions you can put into it though. But this is another aspect for it. So it's a way for you to then play your big minions early. Problem, and a pretty huge problem with this card, is if you played this on turn 4, you don't get 10 mana crystals, you get 10 empty mana crystals, and your opponent gets to start their turn with 10 mana crystals. So if they're playing a big deck, you've just given them an opportunity to play lots of good cards first. If they're playing an aggressive deck, you've given them the opportunity to go wide on their board. Yes, you've got a 4 mana 8/8 on the board, but if the next turn you're just playing another big minion that doesn't have taunt or something, they've got a whole board that can go face, which aggressive decks will really love actually at that point. So yeah, I don't know so much about this one. If you're playing a dragon deck, you would probably just put it in anyway, because if you get to the 10 mana crystal stage in the game, it's just a 4 mana 8/8. It's free. So that's pretty good. 4 mana 8/8 is a huge kind of swing. You can play it with 6 mana's worth of other stuff on the same turn as well. You could argue that it's a counter to Mojo Master Zihi. So if Big Paladin becomes the best deck in the game, everyone puts Mojo Master Zihi in the deck, well, then you just play this and you get your 10 mana crystals back. I don't know. I don't really see that being much of a big deal. But a fun card that I'll definitely experiment with. Moving on to Rogue, and I did talk about Galakrond last time. He is 7 mana, 5 armor. Battlecry: draw 1 card and it costs 0. The hero power is a 2 mana hero power that adds a 1/1 lackey to your hand. This card is very good, I think. Upgrading it once by playing 2 invoke cards lets you draw 2 cards that cost 0, and the final form is 4 cards that cost 0 and equip a 5/2 weapon. And I see that being very good in Rogue because we know how good Myra's Unstable Element can be. Well, this is a way of playing a similar effect, getting 4 cards that are free. Leroy, your Eviscerate, all these kind of things to help you do that extra damage with a 5/2 weapon. It's going to be a really good finisher. But also what you guys mentioned in the comments was this could be a good combo kind of deck. If you're playing this with Malygos, you can play Malygos plus Togwaggle Scheme, or you've already played Myrazon's Dalibel Element, you've got an empty deck. Next time you play Malygos, Togwaggle Scheme, then you play this, and you've got 4 Malygoses that are free, plus 1 on the board. And you could play it with a Sinister Strike. But there are some pretty cool opportunities that any kind of discount that could work would be quite good. But I think a strong tempo deck could use this, but only if the Invoke cards are good enough. And we'll take a look at the Invoke cards. First one, deal 3 damage to an undamaged character, Invoke Galakrond. This is okay. I think it could work because remember it invokes the hero power too, so it's 3 mana, deal 3 damage to an undamaged character, and add a lackey to your hand, which obviously synergizes very well with rogues. But 3 mana seems a bit expensive because the backstab's 0 mana. But if you're wanting to upgrade your Galakrond, you're going to need to be playing these Invoke cards. So I think it's good enough to make that. Umbral Skulker. This is a very interesting card, and although I think it's very good, this one might be one that you leave out because it doesn't actually invoke Galakrond itself, but it's a 4 mana 3/3. It's a battle cry. If you've invoked twice, add 3 coins to your hand. So instantly I'm thinking, well, if you play this on turn 4, you play your 3 coins, then you play Van Cleef, and you've got a huge board that you will not lose from. That is like a really good play. So that is the dream, but it does require you to have invoked twice beforehand. So this is a 3 mana invoke card. And we've also got the 1 mana Praise Galakrond invoke card. Give a minion +1 attack and invoke Galakrond. So you could play your 1-drop. Turn 2, you could play this on your 1-drop. Turn 3, you could play that. Then you've got this plus Van Cleef. But let's be honest, that's a lot of cards you need to have fitting perfectly into your opening hand. The 3 coins are very good in Rogue. They synergize with so many of their things. I love combos. You can play it with Auctioneer to draw cards. And actually cheating out mana would be really good for Rogue. But I think this one might be one that you leave out. You could play it with Spirit of the Shark to get double coins, and then you've got 6 coins in your hand, which can open up loads more combos. I talked about Malygos earlier. 6 extra mana in 1 turn can really help you with Malygos. So maybe that's the route it goes in, but we'll have to see. It's a really powerful effect, though. I'm just not sure what kind of decks need it. Then we move on to the dragon side of Rogue, and we start with a very good card, Candle Breath. 6 mana, draw 3 cards, which is bad. No, you do not want to do that. Sprint is 7 mana, draw 4 cards, and although that has very occasionally seen play, you never want to pay 7 mana for it. This costs 3 less, though, while you're holding a dragon. 3 mana, draw 3 cards, good. Very good. Do you want dragons in Rogue? I don't know. I think Malygos is the only dragon I've ever seen in Rogue, to be honest. You guys will probably correct me there, but oh no, that's Fairy Dragon does go into Rogue actually sometimes. But yeah, it has to be good if Rogue's going to be playing dragons, and this is a good card. This is a solid card that could push you towards dragons, because that is a very powerful effect. Myra's Unstable Element won't be around forever, so this could be a good way for you to play 2 of these in your deck just to get through it quicker. Now we look at their actual dragon, and this is a legendary one called Waxadread. 5 mana 7/5 dragon, Death Rattle, shuffle a candle into your deck that resummons Waxadread when drawn. I'm not too excited about this. I think there's lots of cool synergies you could play with this. One is the Death Rattle synergies with your Necroin Vial and also your Necroin Blade. You could shuffle more copies of the candle in to summon Waxadread back, so you get more than one of him on the board. It also works with Augmented Elic to shuffle more candles in. You could Togwaggle Scheme this to get loads of them and keep playing them, and blah 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 blah, etc etc etc. Anchor the Unburied could make it cost 1 mana, but then it is a 1 mana 1/1. But the other Waxadreads would be 7/5s. The 7/5 is very aggressive, but it doesn't do very much because you're going to be drawing it on your turn, and it comes out and it doesn't have Rush and it doesn't have Taunt. So you have to wait until your next turn until it will attack. It also doesn't stop Fatigue because it shuffles a candle and not itself. So if you've got no cards in your hand, the candle will go in. Next turn you'll draw the candle and then you'll take Fatigue damage. If you've managed to create a bunch of candles, though, there is potential for you to be able to make an infinite board. So if you made 7 candles, summon 7 Waxadreads, your opponent moves them, removes it, all the candles go into your deck. You summon 7 more the next turn if your deck's empty. The problem is you will be on a fatigue clock, so you keep taking them. So do you really want to play this, or do you just want to play Chef Nomi with Shadow Step in that instance? I don't know. I think this is more likely a late game control rogue type thing that just adds in lots of nice 7/5s on the board for you every so often. So I don't really see a good archetype for rogue, although there are lots of synergies that can go with this. I don't really see an archetype really that makes it worth playing. They already have that 4-mana spell, which I love, that shuffles 3 minions into your deck that when drawn they summons them. You just can't play it because there doesn't seem to be time to be able to play that with rogue. So we'll see. Moving on to Shaman, Lightning Breath. This is 3 mana, deal 4 damage to a minion. If you're holding a dragon, also damage its neighbors. This is awesome. It's like a 3 mana Flame Strike. If you hit 3 minions with your Flame Strike, you're pretty happy. This can do it to 3 as well if you're holding a dragon. The same thing I keep saying. Why does Shaman want to play dragons? Well, this drags them towards that feeling, but it doesn't take them away from quest at the moment. So yeah, they need to have strong dragon support or you won't see this played. It is quite nice though, and only 3 mana. You could combine it with Plague of Death Plague of Murlocs to like get rid of some really big boards on your opponent's side, because 4 damage will kill any Murloc. So yeah, it's a very good card that we need to see what the dragons are like to see if it will be played. Moving on to Warlock, I did talk about Galakrond. His hero power for Warlock is it's 2 mana, he summons 2 1/1 demon imps, which I think is really good. Battlecry, summon 1 random demon. Invoke it twice to summon 2 demons. Invoke it 4 times to summon 4 demons and equip the weapon. So I actually really quite like this in a zoo type Warlock deck. And the Invoke here is really powerful. So every time you play an Invoke card, it will summon 2 1/1 imps. So to me, that sounds really good for a zoo Warlock deck. Those imps have loads of demon synergies. They synergize with Jumbo Imp. You can Grim Rally them to buff the rest of your board. So I can see an archetype here that could potentially work. Galakrond would be a big part of that, but he's just a legendary and you do have to summon him, and when you play him you lose your tap ability to draw a card, which is really important in a lot of zoo Warlock decks. They seem to want to tap every single turn. But we do have Veiled Worshipper, which is 4 mana, 5/4, Battlecry. If you invoke twice, draw 3 cards. That is ridiculous. 4 mana, 5/4, draw 3 cards is very, very strong. It synergizes with the Warlock quest, but I really don't think that Galakrond synergizes with the quest, so you probably wouldn't play these two together. We'd have to see the whole set, but you probably wouldn't. So yeah, I just think this is awesome. For a zoo Warlock deck to have a card that draws 3 cards and is a 4 mana 5/4, I think is very good. You just need to have invoked twice. And is that going to be difficult? Probably not. When you look at Fiendish Rites, this is a 3 mana invoke Galakrond, give your minions +1 attack. And what's important here is it invokes Galakrond first. And that's important because that will then summon you 2 1/1 imps and then give them 1 attack as well. So for 3 mana, summoning 2 1/1s and giving everyone +1 attack, I think is pretty good, and actually something which could go very well into this kind of demon zooey type of Warlock deck. So yeah, I like this. 3 mana is quite expensive depending on what board you've got. Like, you wouldn't want to play on an empty board, but even on an empty board you are getting 2 1/2s. So it's that's a bad scenario, but hopefully you have more. They also have Dragonblight Cultist. This one's quite interesting. It's a 3 mana 1/1. Battlecry, invoke Galakrond, so you do summon the imps first. Then you gain 1 attack for each other friendly minion. So this will always be a 3 mana 3 attack 1 health, and if you've got any other minions on the board, you'll gain 1 extra attack on top of that 3. So it could be a really it could be a threat on the board, but it's a threat that's very easy to deal with because it only has 1 health. So your opponent can kill it very easily. But you're summoning 2 1/1s along with it. So it's 3 mana for 3 1/1s, plus one of them has 2 extra attack. So if your opponent wants to trade with it, this is most likely going to kill whatever it trades with. And if they trade with this and their minion dies, then they're not dealing with the rest of your minions on your board. So this one has some potential, I think. And all of it fits into quite a nice package. which is very susceptible to AoE, I should add. Warrior now, and we've got Deathwing Man Aspect. I did mention this in my previous video, but what I didn't mention about this guy is he has a battle cry of attack all other minions, but it will attack your own minions as well. So thanks for mentioning that in the comments. I didn't mention that before, but that is what will happen. He's 8 mana, 12/12 dragon. Really cool card. Play him onto the board, he attacks everyone. So it makes it unplayable. If you're ahead on board, you can't play this because you don't want him to attack your own board. But if you're playing against a Quest Shaman, for example, and they've got a bunch of lackeys on the board, and you play this down, maybe they end up having, maybe you kill 6 of their minions or something, and this is like a 12 attack threat on the board with 3, 4, 5 health, something like that. It's a very good card. It also doesn't need to go into a dragon deck because it's just a battle cry. You don't have to have a dragon in your hand. So I think you could see this in a control deck. But does Warrior need it? Do they need more ways to clear the board? I don't know. Warpath will be removed from the game after this expansion, so it will be here during this expansion. But yeah, I think it's one to watch. If you're building a dragon deck, you put it in. If you're building a control deck, maybe you put it in. Maybe you've already got enough other stuff that you don't really need it. But ultimately, it's a good card and one that will be considered. Molten Breath, though, is a different kind of idea. It's 4 mana, deal 5 damage to a minion. If you're holding a dragon, gain 5 armor. So armor is obviously very good in Warrior. They do have lots of synergies. Is 4 mana, deal 5 damage, is that efficient enough? They already have that dragon that does, it's a 6 mana 5/5 that gives you 5 armor. So in that instance, you get a 5/5 on the board, and you get 5 armor. Is 4 mana deal 5 efficient enough? Probably not in Warrior, because the 5 armor synergizes with your Shield Slam, but you could just use Shield Slam instead of dealing 5 damage. You could use your Shield Slam through other means of gaining armor. So it'll be really interesting to see how this works out. They've also got Execute. They've got Smolderthorn Lancer, which is the one that if you've got Dragon in your hand, it's a 3/2 body and Execute. That's really good. They also got Devastate, the 1 mana spell that does 4 damage. But I think there's other options, but again, you need to see the whole package together. And we need to see a reason of why you're gaining 5 armor, really, for this to be important. Okay, now moving on to the neutral minions. There will be neutral Invoke minions. So the Invoke effect that happens is the class that you're playing as. So if you're playing Priest, for example, this card would Invoke, give a random Priest minion to your hand. 4 mana, 2/2, Devoted Maniac. I really don't like this. It's Rush 2/2 for 4 mana. So you're probably getting your stats worth with the Invoke as well. So if you're playing this in Warlock, you get 2 1/1s along with it. But the 2/2 Rush just seems so bad. It will trade into nothing. It probably won't kill anything, and it will die itself. So I only see this being played if either you're playing a class that doesn't have any good Invoke cards and you need them, or you need to have lots of Invoke cards combined with the class ones, because this just seems a bit weak to me. Then we have the Elusive Dragonid. Taunt can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. 7 mana, 7/7 dragon. This one is really good to come out of Ysera. So I said before, Ysera shuffles the portals in and you get random dragons. This one would be good because anything with Taunt stops your opponent in its tracks. Can't be targeted for spells or hero powers is also a really annoying effect at some point for your enemy to get rid of. But it's never really an effect that makes it into the game very often. Blizzard doesn't print them very often because I think they can be very broken. But they usually make them a little bit weaker for that instance. I think Fairy Dragon gets played probably the most out of all of them. So yeah, I don't really see this going into Dragon decks per se. I don't think you want to pay 7 mana to play this, but there will be occasions where you discover this or you get it randomly where it will be good. Twin Tyrant I found quite hard to assess, to be honest. It's an 8 mana 4/10 dragon. Battle cry, deal 4 damage to 2 random enemy minions. And it has, I would compare this to the Primordial Drake. Primordial Drake was an 8 mana dragon, 4 attack, 8 health with Taunt that did 2 damage to all enemies. So all minions, sorry, yours as well. And that was played in quite a lot of metas just because the AoE was really important. It impacted the board quite well against aggro decks. 4 damage to 2 random enemy minions. I can see where you would use this if you're making efficient trades with your minions and then playing this to remove the last two. Then it could be very strong, but then it doesn't leave much of a threat on the board. It's just a 4/10. It doesn't have taunt. We do play Ragnaros, don't we? We play Ragnaros, which is an 8 mana 8/8 that does 8 damage at the end of a turn. This does 8 damage on its battle cry. You can play it with Spirit of the Shark for double the effect. But the only reason we play Ragnaros is because when it hits something, it kills it. It can repeat that effect as well. This one, I don't know. I don't see it being that powerful, to be honest. More of a specific meta choice, because if you're playing against a mid-range deck or only got a couple of minions, it might work out okay. But like, imagine playing this against Quest Shaman now; it would just be useless. It just kills 2 lackeys. So well, I'll have to wait and see on this one. Then finally for today, we've got the Shield of Galakrond. It's a 5 mana 4/5 taunt, invoke Galakrond with the battle cry. So yes, again, this is the sort of card you would play in a Galakrond deck. I don't think you play it in the Warlock one though. I don't think you play it in the Rogue one. Priest you could play it in because it's kind of a control-y deck. You also get a random Priest minion in your hand when you play it. But do you really want that? I just don't see that as being a good invoke effect. So this is a fairly average neutral invoke minion, I think. Maybe it'll make it into some decks. Alright, so that's all of the cards I got to show for today. That was a lot. Thanks for sticking around if you stick around to the end. I will be reviewing the rest of the cards. They haven't announced when they're coming out. Probably won't be for a couple of weeks. But before then, we'll be playing Hearthstone Battlegrounds, which comes out on Tuesday. I can't wait to play that. So thank you for watching this video, guys. I hope you're hyped for the new expansion, and I'll see you next time.